Hello, good morning. Thank you very much for having me. So, coming from Canada, as LMRE, I will maybe spend a few words about LMRE, but before I'd like to thank, obviously, IASP and Atlampol for inviting me to this session. So, LMRE, what are we doing? We're actually helping organizations to efficiently and responsibly adopt and deploy AI at scale by leveraging world-class AI expertise, industry experience, and tools. And how do we do that? So first, with the talents. So we are born in the ecosystem of AI in Montreal, Quebec, in Canada. So today, after 3 years of existence, we are a little bit more than 500 people, including a bit more than 100 PhDs in artificial intelligence, a bit more than 200 AI scientists, engineers, designers, and 500 AI enthusiasts who are really willing to bring AI to the enterprise world, B2B, business to business. We were fortunate to be elected this year as the hottest startup to work for in Canada. We are very proud of that. And we are actually located in already global since the beginning in 3 different areas: Toronto, Montreal in North America, Seoul and Singapore in Asia, and London and Paris here in Europe. So who created the company? First, serial entrepreneurs, and along with a very well-known person in the artificial intelligence world, Joshua Bengio, who is a professor at the University of Montreal and the co-awardee of the Alan Turing Prize, that is considered as the Nobel Prize for Computer Science, along with Geoff Hinton from University of Toronto and Yann LeCun from Facebook, who we know pretty well here in France and in Europe. And among the values that we are sharing and conveying in our products, in our approach, in our hiring, there is really a people-first mindset that informs everything we are doing. We're also sharing what we're doing with NGOs. So that's the aim of the AI for Good lab that is based in London, UK, and more globally in the world. And the idea is not really to replace people. The idea is to augment people thanks to artificial intelligence. And I will show how that's translating in the manufacturing world. We were fortunate to announce also a couple of days ago, 10 days ago, our Series B of investment, so second round of investment, that actually brings the total to $330 million to actually support our growth and our hiring in the world. So among the various investors, we have technology people, Intel, NVIDIA, Microsoft, and recent then financial institutions, including CDPQ in Quebec and Investment Quebec, and also the management consulting company McKinsey, who decided not only to be an investor, but also a partner. So we are applying artificial intelligence to a couple of areas, including and starting with manufacturing and supply chain. So that really supports pretty well what we are doing with Industry 4.0. As our moderator mentioned, we had already a couple of phases. Industry 1.0 mechanizations, from hand production to machine production, including the organization of working together. The second wave was the mass production, bringing that at scale. Introduction of electrification as well, obviously amplify the efficiency of this mass production. The third wave, digital. Digital, that's really going from the mechanical world to the analog world to the digital world, starting organizing a little bit better, more efficiently, leaner the organizations. And the era we're entering is actually the second wave of automation and the fourth wave of industrialization. That's a bunch of technologies. That's AI, that's also Internet of Things, so connected. So you've got the cognitive aspect, the connected aspect, and also the interaction aspect with augmented reality, for example, and the additive printing, allowing you to produce on smaller scales and in a very distributed way. So it's pretty exciting, this area. And we could define Industry 4.0 as a nervous system of sensors, analytics, that process actually data lakes, data warehouse, and just-in-time responses to emergent issues. And for every single wave, that's why it's important, for every single wave in the past, we've seen an increase in the productivity and a total change in the way to approach manufacturing. Why is that important now? Well, there are a lot of pressures given to the manufacturers. Pressure from the customer who want a more customized product, who want that almost on the spot, and who want that almost everywhere where they are. And it stresses actually the entire manufacturing and supply chain. But the quality needs to remain on par. The downtime needs to be reduced to be more effective, and you can also bring some uptime, so freeing up the use of the resources to do something else. And then the safety, we can compromise with that, of course, and those technologies really reinforce the safety aspect. What is enabling this shift, and why do we talk about an ecosystem? It could be a geographical ecosystem, it could be a functional ecosystem, a business, industry sector ecosystem. Well, if we look at the various organizations, we've started in the lean aspect, where very efficiently we've managed and orchestrated the production. But that was actually more or less in silos. So we were actually having nice metrics, reporting those metrics, not necessarily sharing the data among each other. That was a little bit better with the automation, but still pretty siloed. And that's what is new now with the Industry 4.0. That's an ecosystem that's currently exchanging a lot of data between suppliers, between customers, final customers, between different functions from the procurement to the engineering. So that's really the spin and the clock speed that totally changed and totally enabled by this connectivity and this cognitive aspect of being able to share and make decisions far more quickly. It's not only manufacturing, Industry 4.0, according to us. That's really the entire supply chain. So that's the sharing of information among the manufacturers, the retailers, the transporters, the logisticians, etc. That's how do we share the data and making sure that we are making this connection between the end user, the end consumer, and the product that is actually built. AI. Artificial intelligence. So I prefer the term digital intelligence maybe, that actually drives a meaningful business impact and clear competitive advantages for those who know how to implement that in the operations. It should go away from the research labs, from the POCs, proof of concept, and really manage to introduce that into the operations. But that's hard. But that's, at the same time, a fantastic opportunity. Why? Why do we talk about intelligence? Well, you're seeing this perception, sensing the world, sensing the manufacturing, the logistics world, thanks to all those hardware that are now connected. Communication, we can transport this information, share that, and act on it. Reasoning, we can extract patterns, we can extract trends from those data, from this huge amount of data. The machine is able to find those patterns and to, again, make decisions based on that. And then you have the interaction. The interaction that could be between the machine, between the one plant and another, and above all, the interaction between the human and the machine. And that's really what is still missing, probably, in most approaches, how to involve, how to make it sure that we have this collaboration between the humans and the machine. A couple of myths that I'm sure you've seen about AI. While machines are clever, they can't automate tasks that rely on intuition. Might not be totally wrong, but AI can perform tasks very successfully in operations without actually totally understanding what is behind that. And sometimes it totally doesn't matter. Because again, we will have a human interacting with this machine and guiding, bringing the intuition, but all the mundane tasks will be done by the machine and at the speed that has nothing to do with what humans can do. AI is meant to replace people with machines. Well, that's more augmenting in reality for those intuition reasons, but also because we are in the social environment. An ecosystem, a company is a social environment. The machine will never be able to keep up with that creativity, fluidity, complexity. Complexity to handle a lot of data, yes. Complexity to interact in the social environment, a little bit less so. We can't trust AI because they are black boxes. Well, there are mechanisms to create more trust in AI when it's needed. Is that needed all the time? Well, it depends on the impact it has on the people, on the society overall. We still need to be super responsible of what we are doing and avoid those black boxes when it does matter. At the same time, sometimes it doesn't matter at all. We want to privilege some speed because that's, connectivity at the lowest level. Then AI is an interesting research. We see a lot of papers, scientific papers, but not commercially available. Well, AI, in some cases, for some big corporations and smaller corporations, is deployed at scale and does have tangible impacts today. But again, it's hard. It takes actually a village, if not a city, an ecosystem, to make it work. And I'm sure you've seen that Industry 4.0 has been around for almost a decade. And many POCs, proof of concept, many pilots have been launched, but very few generated actually material business impacts for a bunch of reasons. And I remember an industrial in Germany telling me that he had more pilots in his company than Lufthansa. So indeed, pilots are bubbling, but why are they difficult to translate into operational impact? Well, we've identified three main reasons to name just those three. A cultural aspect. With every single revolution that we've mentioned in the industry, there was a change, a shift of the mindset that was required. A shift of the mindset of the people, a shift of the mindset of the organizations, and probably a big change management for those corporations. And that's hard because they're efficient, remember. They're extremely lean and efficient. How to change, how to manage this disruption coming from all over the places when you're very efficient in what you're doing. AI and automation will eliminate jobs. That's true sometimes, and will create even more jobs, actually, that we don't even know about right now. Who was talking about data clerk a couple of years ago? AI engineers, user designers to create human-machine interface, very few. But there is a tactical problem. We have an aging workforce. And there is a total distrust in the machine decision-making. So the opportunities here with AI are that we can actually capture tasks using robotics and good displaying functions to create this collaboration between AI and the human, working together and actually understanding what is the wisdom and the expertise and the experience of those baby boomers slowly retiring. And how can we actually take that and bring that to the younger people with tools that are digital and they're digital native. So that's a way to go and to be able to sustain this manufacturing in most countries. And concerning the distrust, well, there are, again, visual and textual cues from explainable AI that can provide insight into how decisions are made. But this is a systemic approach that you need to have when you're considering that. Cultural aspect is one of them. Infrastructure is another one. And infrastructure in terms of data, for example, in terms of communication. That was created for the previous digital automation wave. So unfortunately, those data lakes, data warehouse, not always comply with the requirements of AI. And that's a major roadblock because a lot of money has been put into those big data strategy, digital transformation of the first wave, and that's pretty recent. So how to come back and ask for another budget to be compliant with AI, knowing that, well, a data lake is a data lake, isn't it? Well, a data lake is a data lake, but there are sometimes a lack of representativity of the data that we have. There are missing data. And here that's an opportunity to generate synthetic data, to produce structured and unstructured data sets. The previous keynote speaker this morning was talking about, digital twins, simulation engine. That's very powerful to know how to incorporate those big business processes, simulation tools with AI. And that's when you can actually be making sure that you have a good representativity of the data and that your model will be robust and won't have any shift over time. Incomplete data, then there is a lot of annotation that can be done automatically now. How to label the data so that it can be eaten by the software in a good way. And then there is security. So culture, infrastructure, and security. Those infrastructures are connected. That means that there are many opportunities to have hackers penetrating the walls of the company, penetrating strategic systems. So there is how to share the information, who has access to what, how a machine can have access to some data lakes and vice versa. And you need to protect against that. And again, AI can help in the cybersecurity approach by managing automatically who should have access to what machine, what person should have access to what. And it's not only dependent on roles, it's not only dependent on hierarchy, that's actually dependent on who should have access to what at what time. And that's what AI can actually understand and figure out. Then ecosystem, again. Ecosystem because nobody today is able to build this technology or those technology and integrate all those alone. So you need to partner with a bunch of companies, startups, scale-ups, large groups, system integrators. You may decide to buy for an existing proven technology for which the problem is generic enough. You may decide to build internally. It requires a lot of energy, a lot of data scientists, a lot of user designers, etc., but that's possible. And in the middle is probably where those who can take advantage of this middle, co-creation, will move pretty fast. And that's how to integrate your suppliers, your customers within your building environment. There are intellectual property questions, of course, but these are totally solvable. And we found ways, actually, to solve that. There are many papers currently published on that aspect. And when you're in an ecosystem, a geographic ecosystem, being able to have together startups, scale-ups, large groups, and also the financing people. So it could be venture capitalists, but it could be also, banks or any kind of financing. That matters a lot to make those connections so that those projects could be funded and the reduction of the risks can be mitigated in the best way. This is my wrap-up slide saying that we've got in the middle the cultural roadblock, the infrastructure roadblock, the security roadblock. All that needs to be managed thanks to the proper strategy to align on priority in terms of AI investments, the data technology infrastructure, I've mentioned that, so how to assess the existing data and how to complement those data, what needs to be done at a very ambitious level so that AI can be deployed at scale. Research as a service, you can do that as a company, but you can also integrate some academic institution in that field, but on operational problems, on challenging problems, not only on two forward-looking aspects that they can do very well, but there is this gap to bridge as well, and this involvement to ensure on those challenging problems. Then you have the people. And there is a lot of upskilling, reskilling of our employees so that on the territories, so that we can make it sure that we embrace AI in the manufacturing world in the right way. It comes with the academia again, but also with the companies and the governments who should have a critical role in this training, upskilling, reskilling, and the governance, because there are a couple of risks. And at LMRE, we're proponent of regulation. Ooh, regulation when you're on scale, but it's a weird word. But we do think that to bring a responsible AI at scale in the manufacturing world, it's mandatory to have some framework, some rules, so that everybody can trust, including the employees, but also the decision makers in that technology. Trust enables growth, that enables prosperity for the territory. That's what I had to share with you today. Thank you very much.